Midnight. It is now the dark hour, a concealed time period between one day and the next, unbeknownst to all save a few individuals with the potential. Creatures known as shadows inhabit the world during this hidden period, growing ever stronger as time passes, threatening humanity's very existence. Within the dark hour, a mysterious tower emerges atop of Gekoken High School. As a transfer student of Gekoken High, and the chosen leader of a group of students with the potential, you are called upon to investigate and ascend the tower to unravel the mystery of its existence as well as the origin of the shadows. Within a year, you must discover how the Dark Hour came to be, the purpose of the tower and the shadows, uncover the sinister plot that threatens all life, and ultimately prevent the destruction of humanity. Welcome to Persona 3 Portable. It is without a doubt that the PlayStation 2 era is revered as the golden age of JRPGs, where there are more Japanese role-playing games coming out than you could possibly play. If you are a JRPG player, which I assume you are because you are watching this video, you would know that the PS2 has an absurd library of JRPGs, so much so that you most likely missed an excellent title somewhere along the way. One of them which I rectified, and hope this video convinces you to do the same, is none other than Persona 3 Portable. So sit back and relax as I walk you through this masterpiece and why many deem this to be one of their all-time favorites. Without further ado, let us begin. Do take note that I will be covering most of the story in this video, so consider this a warning. Spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Persona 3 Portable is a turn-based combat role-playing game where you play as either a male or female high school student, depending on your decision before the game begins. While the main story remains intact regardless of the gender, your interactions with some of the characters, as well as some of the soundtracks you will hear in the game, will change. The story begins at late in the evening, with the protagonist traveling to his or her new dormitory as a transfer student of Gekoken High School. Along the way, however, strange occurrences in the protagonist's surroundings begin to manifest. Our main character chooses to pay it no mind for now, and continues to travel to the dorm. Given I have played as the male student in my first playthrough, I will simply address the main character as a he moving forward, rather than having to say he or she all throughout the video. Upon the arrival of our protagonist in the dorm, he meets a mysterious boy who instructs him to sign a contract in order to proceed, all while still having the dark and dreary feeling of his surroundings. After signing the contract, the boy, along with the heavy atmosphere, suddenly vanishes. Not long after, our protagonist meets two of his would-be dorm mates, Yukari Takeba and Mitsuru Kirijo, who guide him around the dorm and prepare him for school life at Gekoken High. While the two ladies seem to be more aware of the situation than they are letting on, they heed no mind of it for the time being, and acquaint the protagonist with school life. Arriving at the school, we encounter some of the faculty of the school, as well as our fellow classmates, such as Junpei Iori. As the days pass, we continue to meet more faculty and fellow students, such as the chairman of the board for Gekoken High, Shuji Ikutsuki, and senior dormmate Akihiko Sanoda. All while strange happenings in the evening continue to occur. One night, as the protagonist is asleep, he awakens in a mysterious chamber where he meets a peculiar stranger named Igor. He informs the protagonist that they are in the Velvet Room as part of his commitment when he signed the contract in the dorm when he first arrived. Igor explains that the Velvet Room is a place that exists between dream and reality, mind and matter. He also mentions that this is where we will be honing our skills. More on this later. In classic JRPG fashion, it was only a matter of time when things begin to go wrong. As more days passed, getting more acquainted to school life, the dorm is suddenly attacked by mysterious creatures once again at a late hour. Although Yukari attempts to protect the protagonist, she was unable to do so, leaving him to finish the job, which serves as the introduction to the game's combat. After the defeat of the mysterious creature, our protagonist awakens in the hospital and returns to his school life shortly thereafter. Later in the evening, all of the residents in the dorm, as well as Ikutsuki, finally reveal the details of the strange events that have been occurring. They explain that the mysterious change in atmosphere that occurs during midnight is called the Dark Hour, a hidden time period between one day and the next. To further add to the mystery, the Dark Hour is only experienced by a select few, while most of the population end up asleep inside coffins. To make matters worse, the mysterious creatures that emerge during the Dark Hour are called shadows, who attack anyone who is not sleeping in a coffin. Ikutsuki also reveals that only Persona users are able to combat the shadows that prey on the innocent, and our protagonist is to nobody's surprise, one such individual. It is also revealed that Yukari, Mitsuru, Akihiko, and Ikutsuki are all in a group called the Specialized Extracurricular Execution Squad, or SEAS in short, a group dedicated to monitoring and fighting the shadows and uncover the mystery of their origin and purpose. Our protagonist eventually joins SEAS and is assigned as the leader, with Junpei also being recruited shortly thereafter, as he also has the ability to combat the shadows. It is also revealed that during the dark hour, a tower appears atop of Gekoken High called Tartarus, and the team deduces that the source of the dark hour and the shadows inhabiting the world lies at the top of Tartarus. With the needed knowledge in tow, SEAS is tasked to venture to the top of Tartarus during the dark hour and search for answers that will stop the destruction of the world, all while maintaining their academic and social day-to-day life. And thus, our story truly begins. Now that I laid the groundwork for the story, I will now proceed to the purpose of this video, which is to showcase the game at its best, and why you should play it. With that in mind, do take note that moving forward, I will focus on the features that makes this game a masterpiece. To kick things off, it is a great mindset to take your time when playing this game. It is the journey and not just the destination. One of Persona 3 Portable's core features is to balance your personal and academic life during the day, while slowly ascending Tartarus to uncover its secrets and fighting shadows in the evening. As a student, there are various activities that you can perform depending on what day it is in the week, whether it is to bond with your classmates or peers, having a meal at a restaurant, or simply studying in the library to excel at academics. The bulk of your time as a student will mostly be spent in establishing and nurturing relationships with various unique individuals in what is called the social links. I cannot overstate how the narration of the many characters you meet along the way truly shines, as they have believable and relatable backstories, obstacles, and triumphs. In the early phases, the game first gives you leeway to get acquainted with managing your time, and the best way to do so at this stage is to bond with the various non-playable characters, as each of them have their respective social links and backstories. Despite their minor role in the story, I guarantee that their stories are worth paying attention to, and every stage of their development leads to a satisfying conclusion. It essentially boils down to excellently written cast of characters, each imparting wisdom that is applicable and relatable in real life that many games nowadays take for granted. The story arc of the members of SEAS is truly an emotional journey. Who could not empathize with these amazing cast of characters? From Junpei's eventual ability to muster the courage to overcome his inferiority complex when he meets and befriends the mysterious and innocent Chidori.
Wait, is this? Wow, it's really good. This is amazing. Who wouldn't be able to understand it?
Is this?
It's a detailed portrait of Junpei-san. The next page, and the next. Every page is devoted to Junpei.
Chidori? Junpei. It's like she's telling me to stop moping around.
To Yukari's discovery of her father's true fate to prevent the fall of mankind, and realizing the value of life and relationships.
But I want you to know, Daddy was the happiest man on Earth when he was with you.
Dad?
I love you, Yukari. Please, take care of yourself.
Dad? Daddy? I know one thing for sure now. I was right to believe in him. Are you listening, Dad? I'm doing okay. It took a while, but I finally got your message.
With Mitsuru realizing that she does not have to carry the sins of her ancestors, and obtaining the will to follow the footsteps of her father to become a worthy successor.
But my efforts were futile, and now my life is without meaning. Right?
I'm sorry, but we don't know that for sure yet. After my dad died, my mom spent all her time throwing herself at random men. I couldn't stand to see her acting like that, so I used to come out here to the riverbank to get away. My belief in my dad was all I had.
Your father was only doing what he thought was best.
Yes, but it was still wrong. So he fought to the end to try and make it right again. He never gave up. That's why I fight. I want to eliminate the Dark Hour and fulfill my dad's final wish.
Fulfill his final wish.
That's all No. We can do.
Yes, I agree, Takeba. It's not over yet. Nothing has been decided. We must put an end to this, for the sake of my father. And yours. There's no need to worry, Father. I am not alone, and I'll never look back again.
While Akihiko unshackles himself from the past and sets his eyes forward to live his life to the fullest, after the death of his dear friend Shinjiro.
I thought that if I was strong enough, I could protect anyone. But I was wrong. And now you're gone too. I'm such an idiot. In battle, there's always a chance of dying. I knew that. But I was so focused on fighting that I didn't notice anything else. It didn't matter how tough I was. Look what happened! Yeah, I know. Alright, Shinji. You watch from there with Miki. I still have things to do, right?
Fuka, on the other hand, learns to step out of her comfort zone, to pave the way for change to truly take place, rather than seeking the approval of others.
You don't get any second chances in life. If you accept the way things are, then they'll never change. I'm gonna try and figure out what I really want now. So, I hope you do the same.
What I really want. I used to try and please everyone. I was afraid of not being liked, so I did my best to fit in. But I never really thought about what I wanted.
That is so like you, Fuka. Well, I say if they don't accept you for who you are, then screw them. But I like you, even if you don't like yourself.
Natsuki-chan.
Well, better get going.
It all makes sense now. I've always been so worried about how others are feeling. That's why my power allows me to stay connected with them. I guess there is something I want after all. It makes me happy to see everyone else happy too. So, I want us all to remain friends. The power to connect people even when they're apart.
The raging Ken lets his grudge and thirst for revenge aside, and sets his eyes towards the future, finally accepting the death of his mother.
I'm not here to drag you back. You can stay in this place until you die if that's what you want. But if you still have the will to fight, then come back and stand on your own 2 feet.
He's right. All this time I've just been running away. I made up my mind. I won't run away. I swear that I won't run anymore. Shinjiro-san, I'll see it through to the end.
Aigis, whose sole function was to combat the shadows, finds a renewed purpose and takes the next step towards that goal.
I'm a machine. A machine that was created to protect humans from shadows. But I can't fulfill that mission with the powers I was given. So then, what is my purpose now? Could someone please tell me?
We don't know the answer, Aigis. The only one who can tell you what your purpose is you. That's why we're having such a hard time making our decision. There's just no easy answer. But as long as we're alive, we have to do something. When we see others hurting, we want to help them. So that's our purpose.
There are times when you will lose sight of your goal, and you will have to search for it. But if you can't find it again, then you must set your heart on a new goal. I'm not really one to talk, but I feel that I've come to understand something important this year. To truly live, you will need to make changes sometimes.
I know what my purpose is. I'm a machine who is here to live. And the one who has given me this new purpose is me. This is the promise I've made to myself. I don't know how I'll do it, but I guess that is part of living too.
And last but not least, Koromaru. Well, for simply being Koromaru.
Are you okay? Where'd you get this collar?
That collar is designed to help control his persona. In other words, it's an evoker for dogs.
Wait, does that mean he'll be going into battle?
It was a surprise for me as well, but according to the tests, it's quite possible. In fact, it was the chairman's suggestion. We'll be looking after him here in the dorm.
Is that okay with you, Koro-chan?
He said, I'll return the favor.
With a compelling cast, another integral component of a game's immersion is the game's soundtrack. It is without a doubt that background music is essential for players to remain engaged. And with that said, Persona 3 Portable succeeds in this with flying colors. From a conversation with a fellow student in school, to shopping for items and equipment for combat,
I never felt like da-da-da-dum-dum. I never felt like da-da-da-dum-dum. But they're still with me. Da-da-da-dum-dum.
or even just simply hanging out at the dorm, I guarantee that each soundtrack you will listen to is figuratively and literally music to your ears that will pop and stand out, that is sure to be memorable for years to come. Oh, and how could I forget? The most iconic of them all, the soundtrack of combat. Be prepared to hear the combat OST a whole lot, and I mean a whole lot. But don't worry, it is sure to be a delight in your ears despite how frequently you will be hearing it.
An attack! There are 3 of them!
Give me a sec. I'll scan the target.
Let's go! I couldn't finish it all.
There are 3 enemies left! Obey my command!
Good call.
I cannot talk about a game, of course, without discussing the gameplay. I am pleased to say that both combat and non-combat mechanics shine in their own way, even connecting and enriching one another. As a student, you have the responsibility of juggling multiple tasks throughout the day, whether it's to study for exams, attend sports and culture clubs, have an afternoon meal, or interacting with the various people you meet throughout the game. The greatest emphasis in the non-combat mechanics is the last point, where interacting with characters you encounter in the game increases your social link with them. Social links are the bonds that you forge with these characters, and increase the more you spend time with them. As mentioned, these social links complement in the combat mechanics by strengthening your abilities. It cannot be said enough that these social links are absolutely worth going through, as the stories of the characters are well written as your relationship with them evolves. The voice acting in the game is excellent, which makes these cutscenes all the more worth it to see. In some cases, it can even go beyond friendship, should you want to go the extra mile.
I feel like I'm going to die of embarrassment, but I had to tell you how I feel. I couldn't hide it from you any longer.
Navigating outside of combat is very intuitive and simple to navigate. As this is the portable version of Persona 3, traveling around the various locations is a breeze, as it works similarly to using a mouse to open your desired functions on a personal computer. Fast travel can also be done by pushing a few buttons. Overall, the artwork of the game world has aged very well, as it still manages to capture modern-day Japan infrastructure and design. As you are a student during daytime, in the evening, your task as the leader of Seas is to occasionally ascend Tartarus to unravel the mystery behind the unexplainable events transpiring throughout the world, and this is where combat commences. Unlike during the day, you have actual control of the main protagonist, along with 3 other party members when climbing Tartarus. As you ascend the tower, you will encounter shadows to fight and various treasures to loot, such as items, equipment, and money. Speaking of items and equipment, you can also prepare to set out to Tartarus during the day by buying them preemptively in the mall, as supplies can be scarce. Constantly restocking your items and upgrading your gear will definitely make life much easier for you in the middle of battle. The combat in Persona 3 Portable is sure to keep you on your toes, as one wrong move can potentially result in a game over. Believe me when I say that the game will punish you if you fail to utilize the resources provided, and finding and exploiting the enemy weaknesses. Charging head-on without a strategy will result in your demise, and I learned this the hard way.
You're injured. Can you heal yourself?
Yeah, it misses when I need it the most. That's the thing.
Defeat it.
The game likes to miss when I need it the most. It's too late for that.
Alright! You just won't die.
Come on, hang in there.
Persona 3 Portable is a turn-based role-playing game where you use the power of, you guessed it, personas. A persona is a manifestation of the inner psyche of those who are gifted to summon them, referred to as those with the potential. And all of the members of SEAS, aka your party, have the ability to do so. The core strategy for you to succeed in combat, as I mentioned earlier, is finding the enemy weakness and taking advantage of it. For example, if an enemy is weak to the fire element, casting a fire spell, assuming that it does not miss, will cause the enemy to get knocked back, giving your character an additional turn. Knocking back another enemy will give your character yet another turn. And if you manage to knock all enemies down within the turn of your party, you'll be able to pull off what is called an all-out attack that will either inflict great damage or outright just kill them. Do keep in mind that the enemy can also take advantage of your party weakness. It can severely damage your party or even outright obliterate you, as I demonstrated earlier.
Watch out! There are 4 enemies. That's the way.
Now's our chance!
Good choice. The end.
Now's our chance. Let's go.
That's the way.
Let me pitch in. I've been waiting for this. Okay, now!
To put it simply, the game greatly rewards you for spotting the enemy weak point. But if the enemy likewise exploits your weakness, you will be severely punished. Word of warning, it is easy to get hooked into the combat system once you get used to the mechanics, and once you develop tactics to pinpoint enemy weaknesses. Believe me when I say you become very susceptible to going out of your way to grind or farm to be able to develop your party. Later on in the game, on top of searching for exploits, it becomes crucial to use what is called buff and debuff abilities, where buffs increase your party's combat prowess, such as strength, magic, defense, and so on, while debuffs decrease your opponent's capabilities, such as lowering their attack damage, defense, hit rate, and so on. An added layer of strategy that enriches the combat experience, as it adds complexity to turn management. To further hook you in combat after defeating opponents, you will occasionally be rewarded in what is called shuffle time, where cards will flash on the screen, and if you manage to spot the card that you want, you will be rewarded with whatever the card contains. Cards reward you in various ways, such as increased experience to level up your characters, more money yielded for the fight, new equipment to either equip or sell in stores for money, and also new personas for the main character. You may be wondering what is meant by new personas for the protagonist. This is where the Velvet Room, where Igor resides, come into play. You may have noticed in prior clips that I was swapping out personas for the main character in combat. This ability is only available to him alone, whereas everyone else in the party has only one persona, and is therefore susceptible to elemental weaknesses. For example, Yukari's persona specializes in wind elemental attacks, and is therefore vulnerable to thunder attacks, while Mitsuru's persona utilizes ice elements, and is therefore weak to fire attacks, and so on and so forth. To ensure that the game provides you a fair shot at finding enemy weaknesses, the main character has the ability to obtain and swap out various personas in combat. For example, if an enemy is weak against fire damage, and none of your party members have fire attacks, the main character can swap to another persona that has fire abilities, and you can therefore exploit the enemy weakness. Do keep in mind that this can also work against you if the main character switches to a persona that has a weakness that the enemy can exploit, especially when the prior persona the main character was equipping did not have any weakness your opponent can take advantage of. This further adds depth to the combat that will ensure that the player does proper persona swapping and management of the main character to ensure all possible attacks against the enemy are available, despite who you bring to ascend Tartarus. With that in mind, it becomes apparent that not all personas are made equal. In order to obtain better personas, the Velvet Room features the ability to fuse personas in your arsenal to create stronger ones. Although it is easy to choose to simply merge your personas to obtain stronger ones, I highly recommend that the main character has access to all possible attacks and abilities to ensure that you will be able to take advantage of enemy weaknesses. Although you can keep personas in the compendium to resummon the personas prior to merging, they become quite expensive to reobtain in the late game, unless of course you are willing to generate the funds needed to bring them back to your equipped personas. Again, more depth to the gameplay. Do also note that in order to have access to higher ranked personas, it becomes imperative to ensure that you further increase your social links, as personas are dependent with the bonds you forge with the people you meet throughout your journey. This is what I meant with how combat and non-combat mechanics in the game integrate spectacularly with one another. The Velvet Room is also where you can obtain additional quests as you ascend Tartarus for added rewards, such as equipment, items, and money. It is also here that you are informed that people have ended up in Tartarus and are in need of rescuing within a time frame. In the context of level design in Tartarus, I am glad to say that the visuals offer a wide variety of color schemes and layout. Given the abstract nature of Tartarus in the story, it does not come across as randomly generated assets, but rather unique and distinguishable design per block of the tower. The final component of what makes this game truly shine is the story. Despite already partially tackling this, I do believe the main story is worth discussing in summary to say the least. Without going too much into detail, the recurring theme of Persona 3 is the hubris of man and the relentless pursuit for more power, whatever the cost. Due to humanity's folly in the past, the Dark Hour, the Shadows, Tartarus, and a prophesized ancient evil now threatens to engulf the world in a year's time, and now only seizes all that stands between the survival of all life and the world's end. This may sound something you have heard before. However, like I said very early in this video, it is the journey and not the destination, and not all is as it seems. While the plot can easily be found in a JRPG playbook, it is the execution of the storytelling is what makes this game truly special. Not all is as it seems, as the game tackles many aspects of day-to-day life, such as deceit and betrayal, physical and substance abuse, the will to venture further into the unknown despite all odds, and most importantly, to cherish life and find its value and meaning. For our life is finite, and the only person who truly knows what our purpose is none other than ourselves. A beautiful message to impart on the player that is wholesome, fulfilling, and I for one could not have thought of a finer ending.
After fighting alongside you and facing the world's end, I finally began to understand what it means to live. Thinking for yourself, not running away. Accepting the inevitable. All things eventually come to an end. Every living thing will one day disappear. Only by accepting this can one discover what they truly want, what the meaning of their life will be. You don't have to save the world to find meaning in life. Sometimes, all you need is something simple, like someone to take care of. I'll keep on living no matter what, so that I can protect you. Thank you for everything.
In conclusion, if you are a JRPG fan and have not played Persona 3 Portable, then there's no better time to jump in than now, as it is available in all modern platforms for a reasonable price. The visuals remind me of modern-day Japan, and dungeons are varied in design, so much so that it never feels dull. The soundtrack is outstanding and will surely be memorable for years to come. The voice acting is nothing short of spectacular, and enriches the storytelling. The loop of combat and non-combat gameplay is deep, immersive, and challenging if you are careless, but very rewarding and fulfilling should you see it through. The characters are stellar and relatable, each with their own struggles and triumphs that integrate well to the main story. Last but not least, the story is well written, compelling, and applicable to daily life, as it imparts the wisdom of what it means to truly live. If you are still here, I would like to say thank you, and do subscribe if you have not already, as there is more content to come. Have a great day, and I will see you again next time.